it'll be replayed so that you'll be able to understand what would happen. Because there's going to be a fire hose of information that's going to come at you. And we're going to start off. Dave's going to talk for about a half an hour, and then we're going to have a 15, 20-minute Q&A session, and we're going to get a lot of insight about what's going on. So, Dave, without further ado, thank you very much. Put this on your connecting deal, so just put that in the belt. Yes, sir. No? Thank you. Thought he was going to steal my water. Well, thanks everybody for coming out and listen to just a little bit about the hospital. It's a pretty exciting thing. Who here thinks we need a hospital in our area? I think so too. I had an event a couple of years back where I nearly lost my son, who's now 7 years old, and without a doubt, if I didn't have a hospital close to home where I was, my son wouldn't be with us today. So I have a personal mission here, and I feel awfully strongly about having health care that's accessible here to serve the community in a very real and significant way, as close to home as possible. Again, my name is David Kreye. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the hospital. I've been here for about 5 months. Appreciate you shortening that for the download, Devin. I told him every time he takes my picture, try to make me look good. I know it's tough work, but every little bit can help. Do I? It might look good.
It's from there. There you go.
There we go.
Don't want you to take it anymore.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if I'll talk for half an hour or so, but we'll leave plenty of time for questions and answers. That's the fun part. I think that the opening of Lakeway Regional Medical Center marks the first major employer in the Lakeway area. We'll have, when we open, probably somewhere around 250 to 275 employees. We plan to add employees rapidly from there. Pre-opening, we have a very detailed plan that we work off of about when we hire who, and that's based on prior experience, not just my experience, but also from our corporate partners, surgical development partners, and they've opened 3 or 4 hospitals in the past. So we rely on their experience to understand when we should hire who and what skill set they should have. I'll cover the mission and the vision and then the values of the hospital as well. The mission is to deliver compassionate, exceptional quality health care that improves the quality of life for our patients, our physicians, our healthcare team, and the communities we serve. Our vision, Lakeway Regional Medical Center, would be the best by all we serve by providing exceptional patient-focused care with respect and compassion, contributing to the communities we serve through awareness, education, and community participation, managing our resources responsibly and with accountability, and being a preferred employer that instills pride and commitment to excellence. It doesn't sound very exciting, but we spent a lot of time sweating over our mission and our vision. And so a lot of folks that are involved in the leadership of the hospital, this is a very personal thing for us, and we're proud to have these in front of us. And as we go through our hiring process, we hope that the folks that we connect with and we hire have the same mission and vision. Integrity, our values, integrity, we do the right thing. Caring, we do the kind thing. Excellence, we do the best thing. And safety, we always do the safe thing. It never gets much applause, but it's important stuff. It really is. So we imagine our primary service area to hold somewhere between 90 and 100,000 people, and roughly our primary service area will go up towards 22. Do we have any folks from Steiner Ranch in here tonight? We know that they're awfully excited about us being around too. We'll go towards 360 to the east, obviously not all the way there, south towards Dripping Springs, and then west past Spicewood to some undefined point. And we think that time will tell exactly how far out towards Marble Falls that will reach. Our opening of the hospital, any guesses? I've heard about 1,000 different things. Looking at late April of 2012. Now, as we get closer, we'll have a more definitive date. I'm not really willing to commit just yet, but late April is very, very I can make that promise with confidence. When we open, we'll be staffed by board-certified physicians, including emergency physicians, hospitalists, primary care doctors, general surgeons, cardiologists, cardio and thoracic surgeons, interventional radiologists, neurologists, gastroenterology, urology, infectious disease, orthopedics and sports medicine, oncology, obstetrics and gynecology, and we will deliver babies, pain management, neonatology, pulmonary and critical care, ENT, ear, nose, and throat guys and gals, podiatry, and allergists. And we're continuing to add just little by little as we go along. And the service lines that we'll cover will have a full-service emergency room, which will have 22 rooms. It will have 3 trauma rooms. Open 24/7, real deal. We're meeting with EMS, Austin, Travis County EMS, actually, in the next week or so about them having a rig there full-time. So we'll bring an ambulance service out here to be stationed here full-time. That's big news, isn't it? It really is. The radiology services will have a full suite of absolutely state-of-the-art diagnostic and interventional equipment, staffed by board-certified physicians. Surgical services will have 6 operating rooms, and we'll also have 2 C-section rooms for moms and babies. And they're in separate places. The C-section rooms are on the 2nd floor, and the surgical suites are down in lower level 1. Now, in different spots, a lot of places, if you share those space, then docs who are doing general or orthopedic or CV surgery get bumped by the C-sections. Doctors don't like being bumped, so we have them separate, and we have 2 rooms, so hopefully there won't be a whole lot of waiting. Women's services will also include 7 labor delivery and a bunch of recovery rooms. We'll have 19 dedicated single patient rooms for post-antepartum and other GYN services, and of course digital mammography. Neonatology critical care services, will be a level 2 nursery, and what that means, we can keep a lot of the sicker babies closer to us. We're not going to be level 3 or level 3B, which is for the really sick kids. We're going to partner with Seton to send those kids to Children's. That's one of those things where it's a struggle to figure out how much service duplication you want to do on the highly specialized things, because it's, number one, it's physician intensive, and number 2, it's awfully resource intensive when it comes to the dollars it takes to equip a place to do that. Intensive care services will have 18-bed intensive care unit. Pediatric services will have 15 general acute pediatric care as well as 4 critical care pediatric beds. General acute care services, all of the hospital rooms are private, and all of our hospital rooms can have telemetry on them. That means you can put something on it and track your heartbeat. Governance structure, the hospital is governed by a 7-board board of directors that includes physicians, investors. We also have a community advisory board that we're launched, and actually some of those folks are sitting in this room. Appreciate them coming. We have a physician advisory board in addition. I'm supposed to give a jobs update, and I think the closest I can give is that right now we've gone through the process of bringing on myself, our chief financial officer, our chief nursing officer. We have a director of an administrative director of inpatient services. That's good titles, or I get in trouble. A pharmacy director, as well as a couple other folks. But primarily what we're all focusing on at this point is the electronic medical record. Spent about $14 million to have a completely and totally electronic medical record, so all different sections of the hospital can talk to all different sections of the hospital. So it's one record. You don't have to get out and go into another record and go into another record. And when the doctor puts your orders in, it's in, so the pharmacy can see it, the ER notes are all available. It's all in one place. That's a pretty neat deal. I've been to some pretty technologically advanced hospitals, but having one record for everything is truly an extraordinary feat. How many people here work in healthcare? I see some people nodding their heads. See? So you guys understand, that's an extraordinary feat, isn't it? And some general facts. Currently we have about 225 workers on site each day. Construction is on schedule. Our financial position is very, very solid. We have a very healthy balance sheet. We'll have 275,000 square feet upon opening. We talked about the opening date. We'll have 9 stories, 6 stories up and 3 stories down. We'll talk about that. The physicians will participate in the operation of the hospital. What we mean by that is we're going to invite the physicians in on a regular basis, a monthly basis, to talk to on a very detailed level about the operations of their departments and what suggestions they might make on how we can improve our services to our patients. And as uncommon as that seems, it does not happen everywhere. So we're going to share with them the detailed information, the financials for the departments, the utilization of resources for the department, and ask them for their input. They're at the bedside every day, and they help drive it. The hospital is only in charge of the piece of land that it sits in. It's about 12 acres. And then across the road, there's a big, big piece of dirt that's between us and the road. And the developer takes care of that. And that developer is sitting in this room. You want to raise your hand? So if anyone wants to develop that piece of property, talk to that gentleman right there. So we have a lot of people that come and say, hey, what's going on with that piece of land? If you really want to know, I defer to him all the time because I'm not sure. But he's a busy guy, and I know he's taking care of it. All private rooms. We have a website that's recently been launched. It hasn't been search engine optimized yet, but people are finding it because we're getting resume submissions all the time. It's www.lakewayregional.com. And there's 2 or 3 other ones out there that we're trying to contact now to say, can either have them point to our website or shut them down so they don't compete with us. Because right now we're not the first thing to pop up. In a couple of weeks, I think, as we get it optimized, it will come up a little better. And we have an 8-story parking garage with 575 spaces. And we also have a medical office building. Has anyone noticed the steel going up out front? That's a medical office building. That's going to be up 54,000 square feet. And that'll contain primarily physicians as well. All right. Now let's have fun. What about questions? This would be unbelievable if I walked out of here without a question. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I should cover that better. And we're also we're in the process right now of contracting with all the major payers, the Blue Cross, Aetna, United, Cignas of the world as well. Yes, sir. Good question. Yes, sir. Hmm? Give or take. Well, we're working very closely with the developer at this point to figure out exactly how we're going to do that. That road will be there. Stoplight? Well, I'm not in charge of the stoplight. I pray to God that it's there. Okay. We are working as closely with TxDOT as possible. It already is. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll probably have somewhere between 110 and 125. Primarily local, yes. Yes, sir. No, sir. Not yet. Well, yes, there will. Yeah, we haven't established who has medical staff privileges yet. Haven't gone through the privileging process. Yes, ma'am. We will. We will. We'll also have a linear accelerator on campus, and we'll have a full ability to do diagnostic interventional nuclear medicine. Yes, ma'am. Good question. Thank you. Yes, sir. Well, those are doctors, okay, and then employed folks, 250, give or take. In addition, yes, sir.
Yeah, we open in the end of April. Does that mean fully operational, or is there a phase in?
Good question. Fully operational. Yeah.
Is the medical office building going to be ready at the same time?
Well, some parts of it will be ready at the same time, but not all. It depends on the build-out schedule and who gets their design done in time and who doesn't. Right now, there's a lot of folks that are still working on their design work for how they want the inside of the building to work. The longer they wait, the less the chance that it'll be completely built up by the time it opens. Good question. Helicopter pad is fully functional. Right, we can land a chopper today. We will not own a helicopter. Yes, ma'am. We are, absolutely. Yes, and you know, the nice part is we've been able to, with the help of Joel Canfield, we have some neurologists who are willing to help us cover that. We'll have full coverage for neurology, which is a big deal. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. I think so. I think it is. I should look more often. Okay, there you go. Thank you. Yes, sir. No, sir. No. I think that Surgical Development Partners may have done business at some point with the Healthcare Real Estate Investment Trust that currently owns the building, but right now Lakeway Regional nor does Surgical Development Partners have any interest in that building. Yeah, we will. And I think as we build our volunteer program and our outreach programs, and that'll grow from small at the beginning to bigger and bigger and bigger based on community need. And hopefully we'll have our community advisory board help advise us on these things. But yeah, that's important. Absolutely. I don't understand what you mean by normal people.
No one here is normal.
Yes, that's exactly what the community advisory board is. Strictly people that are from the community. Some that are sitting in this room. You had a question, sir. I'm sorry.
Question on, it was mentioned earlier about trauma designation.
Yes.
Level 3, when you all expect?
You know, my main concern is getting the hospital opened and licensed, and then we'll work on trauma designation. So I'm not certain to give you the best answer I can. Fair? Yes, ma'am. Yes. 106 inpatient rooms. We could have an hour conversation about the technology in each room. It is remarkable. We do have one room, which is our interventional radiology / cath lab room, which has the technology to convert at any time to an open heart surgery room. The ICUs, we certainly have the capability to do procedures in those rooms. However, we pray to God we never have to do surgery in one of those rooms because something's gone awfully wrong. So the amount of technology that's room there is truly remarkable. And even when the hospital was planned 2 or 3 years ago, or whenever the plans were drawn, there was thousands and thousands of IT drops put in. And now a lot of the stuff is wireless. So we have all these extra IT drops, which we would never imagine we'd have extra, because all the technology is wireless, to the point where we have the bedside monitors look like giant iPads. And these giant iPads, you can touch them like an iPad, and you can go in, and if you're a patient, and the nurse comes in and says, I've got to hang some potassium, I say, well, let me check ahead of time to see if they can. They can access the medical record at the bedside through the bedside monitor. And the bedside monitor also serves as the collection point for the wireless data that's flowing into the system. And it's much more technologically advanced than that. I can't do it justice to talk about it, to be honest with you. But it is pretty remarkable. It really is. Did I answer your question? Okay. I wish I could answer it better. Well, I hope you're not a patient, but we'd love to have you come visit us. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. We are. And I think we're going to do 2 different ways. As we get a little closer, right now it's still kind of a hostile environment. We've got sawing stuff in there, and it's messy. And 2 different ways is that we'll do it kind of as people call and say, hey, can I come take a look at the hospital? We usually set something up for them. And then before we open the hospital, we'll have a big grand opening before we open. And we'll take tours. We'll invite the general public to come through and take them through in groups, smaller groups, 10 to 12, so they can actually hear and see everything. We already have. Yes, sir? We will at some point. That's a little bit further down the road. You may have missed the part we have a very detailed staffing plan that we work off that tells us when we're hiring who. Yeah. Well, I mean, we could hire you today, but you'd sit around doing nothing for a long time. Yeah, if you go to www.lakewayregional.com, there's a place there to submit your resume. Sure. Yes, sir.
Without getting too particular, there have been some people who have asked me whether Sam DeMayo is still a part of this Lakeway Regional. Is he still a part of this?
Well, I'm glad that came up. Sam is remarkable, and he's a visionary, and he's part of the reason this hospital is here, without a doubt. Currently, Sam doesn't sit on the board, although I believe he's coming back to town soon, and look forward to having him back. He currently doesn't have a board seat. No, sir. To answer your question? Sure. Yes, sir. Second and third shift? Well, that's like a trick question, you know. Roughly around about a third. So.
I wouldn't expect you to have a sense of employees. That's just
Now, what you run is probably the same amount of clinicians, but all the office people kind of go home. Yes, sir. Hmm? Hmm? Yeah, absolutely. Our staffing generally for the clinical folks will be at 7A to 7P, so that should alleviate a lot of that. And when you look at hospital staff, roughly 65% of the staff will be clinical staff, so that should really help. Yes, sir. Surgical Development Partners does have an ownership interest, yes. Yes, ma'am. Not at this point, no. Strictly acute care. There's a lot of discussion about what would be the next level of expansion, or maybe even to build. There are some physicians who say, hey, we should build a rehab hospital next door. So that's part of the discussion, but we'll open as an acute care hospital. Good question. Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple of questions. One of them
Okay.
is a follow-up to a question over here. How much of the staff, do you have any timeline set yet for example, the time when you will reach full employment? Is that discussed on the website or other?
No, I don't think there's any discussion of that on the website. And when you say full employment, like have all the staff ready to go for day one, probably 2 or 3 weeks prior, and the only reason it'd be 2 or 3 weeks before that is because we have to train and get them through orientation. Yeah.
And how much of the staff is from outside left?
Boy, so far, we've been pretty lucky about finding local staff.
Priority or is that just preference?
Well, I don't know that I have any priority preference. We're really looking for the most talented folks. But there's a lot of talent here in, Travis County and Lake Travis area.
And have you done anything in terms of timeline how you determine the impact of this new hospital on the local area?
No, I haven't. I've seen a couple studies, one which was really interesting. It said you're going to employ 1,200 people the first day, and there's going to be 500 doctors the first day. And I thought, wow, no, it's not. No, it's not. So it will be slightly less than that, I'll guarantee you. But I think it will be a remarkable impact. And I think it'll be interesting if we have, as we get closer, have accurate numbers, because there's pretty basic formulas you can use to kind of gauge the impact. And maybe that's something we ought to sit down and do as we get a little more staff on board. Yeah, that would be fun. Good suggestion. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Are you working with a local relocation company, or who would you contact with them to get those to let them know about
You talk to me. I'll leave a big stack of cards up there in case anybody wants one. No, we haven't. And I'll tell you what I've told everybody else. And Ken knows this, and everybody else, is that we have kind of a rotational basis. If you do a great job, you go to the top of the list. If you do a bad job, you go off the list. And that means be on time, be professional, be accommodating, try to listen, and fit your customers' needs. Because we get pretty solid feedback most of the time, and once in a while we get feedback of it wasn't so good. So, but I was talking to Ken earlier on the phone, and he said, "Man, you never call me for referrals." I said, "We haven't placed anybody, except for." And he said, "Well, how'd you find your house?" And I said, "Man, my wife picked it out. I stay out of that." So, I'm a smart guy. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. We'll have an upcoming events kind of thing. I think we'll have it intranet. It's just inside the hospital. That'll be more of a bulletin board kind of access. Actually, it'll be accessed just through our website for our employees only. Yeah. Well, we might be able to figure something out. That's a good suggestion. I'm not sure how we do it, but we might be able to figure something out. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Yes, ma'am. me talk a little bit about it. And the reason I make a face like that is because I'm an accounting and economics guy, and you just say marketing team, it's getting uncomfortable. And, that costs a lot of money. Yeah. Well, they do. They do. We've actually reached an agreement with a local firm to help us with social media marketing. How do we capitalize on Facebook? How do we capitalize on YouTube? Who here goes on YouTube? Who here goes on Facebook? YouTube's the #2 search engine in the country. So those are things we need to capitalize on. Anyone put an ad in the newspaper, and that's not really that much fun. And the Statesman, although we love the Statesman, has a little broader reach than maybe we need. So we're figuring out with Devin's newspaper, how do we work with them and put together a real plan? And the next question is, do billboards really work? I mean, you see them, but do they drive business? I don't really know. So that's part of the process that we're evaluating now is what's going to work for this market. But one thing we're trying to get on early is social media marketing and have that presence. So go to Facebook and like us on Facebook. Right now we have 38 people who like us, so we should be able to like quadruple that tonight. Yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting. But the more people that like you on Facebook, then the more things you can do on Facebook. So it's a pretty neat deal. Pretty neat deal. Did I answer your question? Kinda. Not really. Kinda. I know. Well, it's mostly because we're really not sure what the marketing is going to look like. We still have about 6 months till we open, so we're working on the plan. We talked to 3 or 4 different companies, and one of them proposed $1 million+ spend prior to opening. I said, woo, that's a lot of money. Yeah. What's that? Yeah, that was our high bid. Yes, ma'am. Buy a bunch. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe you can help me figure it out. Pardon me? Yeah, we're talking to somebody now who we used to help us set up our website about how we do that and whether they can really help us. So that's something we're trying to figure out. Any suggestions are welcome, I think. Yeah. Cheap and good is good. Okay. Yes, sir. That's fantastic. You're throwing me softballs. That's excellent. I forget to mention, we will be LEED certified. Absolutely. And the interesting part about the design of the building is the architects laid the building out first, and then nurses went through the plans with the architects for a week or so and changed things around. And then physicians came in with the nurses and the architects to change the plans around on how medicine is really practiced in the hospital. And after that, the nurses went back with the architects and spent another week or so with them. So we like to say that the building is really designed by physicians and nurses, which is pretty cool. And you'll see it when as you walk through the hospital. There's different things that I've never seen in hospitals before. For example, between the trauma rooms and the emergency department, there's room so you don't have to go out into the hallway and go back into the next room. Because usually if you have 2 trauma rooms full, you're going back and forth pretty quick. So they put doors in between. And that's something that they came up with that I've never seen in a hospital before. But it seems like a great idea, and when you put it in, you think, man, how come we've never done that before? It seems pretty simple. But when you get the nurses and the physicians involved, you get that kind of thing. But I appreciate you asking, because yes, we will be LEED certified. It means we're going to be a green hospital. Yes, green friendly. Yes, sir. Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. To an exhaustive point, yes. Even now, as we're setting up the medical record, that's the process we're going through now with lab techs going through how we're setting up the electronic medical record for that department. And it is hours upon hours upon hours. How are you going to do this? How many labels are you going to print for a CBC? Thank goodness we have smarter people than me, because I have no idea the answer to the question. So that's exactly what they're doing through now with the electronic medical record. And you need to have that kind of specific knowledge base in order to make good decisions. That's a good question. Thank you guys for asking me questions that help me remember to tell you the important thing. Yes, sir.
You mentioned 106 beds. Is that 106 licensed beds, or what are y'all licensed?
It's 106 licensed beds, yes. And we'll have, up on the 6th floor, we have shelf space. That means we don't have any beds built up there. We can add 40 more beds in quick time. It's plumbed and ready to go. And we'll put that build up based on a couple things. One is demand, obviously. And number two is we'll figure out, is it going to be an orthopedic wing, is it going to be a surgical wing, or is it going to be additional cardiac beds based on what really takes off and what the community need dictates. Did you have another question?
Are y'all associated or any sister facilities or
Standalone.
standalone?
Sir. Yeah, there are. We have plans drawn up so we can expand. And the neat part about the expansion plan is after we build those 40 beds on the 6th floor, the next step is to go up the back side of the hospital, the north side of the hospital, into the parking lot that's there, and add X amount of beds. I think that'll kind of be dictated by need again. But the nice part is there's enough electricity coming in, enough power feed, enough backup generator, enough HVAC, chillers. So we don't have to put any more infrastructure in. Really what we have to do is add steel and drywall and all that kind of stuff and ready to go. Probably not quite that simple, but you get the idea. But that, again, will be dictated by need, and then hopefully it comes soon. But we have that plan. I would certainly think within the 5-year range you'd see significant expansion. But I'm a conservative guy, so it might be soon.
I get that same answer.
Yeah. Sorry.
You mentioned earlier EMS being having another crew out here. Are they going to be stationed within the facility or will they have a
Actually, what we're talking about is having a station right at the hospital. Yeah. So they're there 24/7. Ground. I've had a helicopter once at the hospital I ran, and it was remarkably expensive and fraught with difficulties. So we leave that to the people who do it often and do it very well. Yes, sir. It's 3 stories, 55,000 square feet. We have some lease space in there as well, but primarily built for physicians. The OBs will be on the 1st floor, so pregnant moms don't have to go upstairs. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. There are other folks that it's privately funded. Yes, ma'am. No physician ownership. Correct. No, sir. President Obama settled that for us. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm not real sure. Yes. Correct. Yeah. Every step of the way. Well, if there's no other questions, I might get home in time to put my kids to bed. Good. Any other questions? I hope I made a good effort at answering everybody's questions at least. Yes, ma'am. I didn't tell anybody, but I appreciate you asking. I'm originally from the Midwest. After graduate school, lived in Florida for 10 years, worked for HMA, Health Management Associates, a large for-profit healthcare company. Left those folks, joined a startup healthcare hospital company, worked for them for 7.5 years or so. Moved 4 times while I worked for them. I was the guy that whenever they buy a new hospital, they bought financially ailing hospitals and turned them around and turned them into functional businesses. Then I would be that guy to move. That involved going from Florida to Boston to Dallas to Pittsburgh to San Antonio. And then my buddy back in Florida at HMA talked me into going back down there for a couple of years. We quickly tired of Naples, Florida, if you can believe that, and decided we'd come back here. We're a for-profit institution. Yes, sir. And the only thing that means is that we're the single largest taxpayer in the city. I do. I have a whole big staff. Anything else? If there's something you forgot or something that comes up, you have a question, you can always email me. Yes, ma'am? Oh, no. That's a good question. Well, I tell you, half the questions that were asked, I forgot they were important. So here's a big stack of my cards. I don't know. That's a tough question. I think there are a lot of great questions here tonight. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that would be a significant deal that wasn't addressed. Yes, sir. No. No. Construction's going very, very, very well. I think we're okay. Yes, ma'am. No, wait. That was my closing remark. That's my closing remark. But mostly because my kids need a bigger school. They go to bee caves and they're all packed in. Yeah. 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 Gotcha. There you go. Stole my thunder, but great point. Did I see another hand? I think what you're referring to is there was a Freedom of Information Act request filed. And I believe that's all been as resolved as it's going to be. How's that for a terrible answer? Yes, ma'am. Can't hear you. Huh? Yeah, that's a good question. I hear all the time that there's no place to live and you can't find a place to rent. We've had 2 folks move in town and found rentals very easily. I was somewhat surprised after the expectation being set that wasn't the case. So I think we'll address it as it comes up and as the need develops. That's a good question. I'll have a much better answer than that. There you go. No, I try to stay on it pretty good. I get about somewhere between 350 and 425 a day. And I don't have an assistant yet. That's what I do when I go home after I put my kids to bed. Yes, sir? That's true. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Someday, what the worst part is I went to South Dakota for a couple of days to go hunting. And I come back after being really, truly out of touch for 5 days. It's tough to catch up. And people call and yell at me, "You didn't answer my email." I'm like, "Come on, man. I just give you a little bit of a break." So, yeah. But it is tough to catch up. If I don't get back to you, send another one. Call me. Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm not always great at that. Anything else? Well, thank you, guys. I really appreciate your time. Okay, if I put that on. Yeah, that's good. You got that, didn't you, Dan? Yeah.